とかわかんなくなっちゃってるだけで。もういいの。私本当はもう分かってたんだ。なんで？お母さんいるよ。スズメを探してるんだってば。スズメ。お母さんどこ？
This is sad, but not nearly as sad as finding out there's a criminal behind the making of Your Name, Suzume, and Weathering With You. These are some of the most popular movies in the entire anime industry. The worst part, not only is he a criminal, he's a convicted pedophile. This producer goes by the name of Koichiro Ito. What if I told you it wasn't just one producer, but actually a plethora of producers throughout the entire community? And unfortunately, a ton of them are walking around completely scot-free. This whole fiasco has sent the entire anime community into shock. I mean, there was truly no way we could have ever seen this coming. To truly understand why this is happening, and why it's been happening, we need to take a deeper look inside the anime industry as a whole, and learn to understand some of the inner workings that happen within Japan's societal norms. I did a major deep dive, and as far back as I could find, anime has had hypersexualization spiraling all the way back to the 1980s. We see characters like the infamous Master Roshi, who, from his very first appearance, is questionable. Then we see characters like Eikichi Onizuka from Great Teacher Onizuka, otherwise known as GTO. This entire series was recently added to Netflix's ever-growing library of anime. A story about a 22-year-old ex-gang member who also happens to be a virgin. While peeping up the skirts of numerous high school girls, he finds a girl that he's into, but she isn't into him. Shocker. I'm sure you're starting to see why this anime hasn't been very well received in 2024. She rides off into the sunset with her actual boyfriend that somehow happens to be an adult teacher, and Onizuka takes that as his calling. He needs to become a teacher so he can attract high school girls and lose his V card. Yes, that is truly the plot of the anime. The unfortunate truth is, as fun and light as these characters could even possibly come off, the trend has only grown to become more entrenched and widespread. The further along we come, the more normalized these characters become, and frankly, popular. One of the most popular animes of the past few years, and the 5th highest selling manga last year was Chainsaw Man, an anime about constantly, you see character after character in animes have these huge perverted antics that are simply made into humor, which most of the time, I find it hard to believe that people are actually laughing at home. I think a majority of people are just having the passing thought, this is part of anime, and ignore it.
Sorry, I'll take care of that.
We do the same thing in America. I'm sure there are hundreds of movies where an old man in a hospital bed, he pulls the classic accidental knockdown, but just like most unfortunate things in the world, people take things too far. Now, I need you to prepare for the mental destruction you are about to endure hearing these stories. I truly never expected for myself to go down this sad rabbit hole of how different the world's perspectives can be on something so crucial to any society. Children. Kenya Suzuki, a 40-year-old manga creator behind the series Please Tell Me Gakko-chan, and amongst a few other works. In December of 2021, he was arrested for suspicion of possessing CP, we'll say for YouTube's algorithm, imported from Germany. What's honestly pretty crazy about the situation, according to a fellow manga creator, Batan, Suzuki was reported missing for about a week before the arrest. Suspected to be on the run for fear knowing that he was going to be arrested, the police confiscated 46 books, whole books, that contained CP from his residence. Suzuki was hit with 1 year and 2 months of prison time. Suzuki admitted he had no plans to appeal the sentence and fully admitted that he was guilty. Immediately after, the manga Please Tell Me Gakko-chan was suspended, along with its associated spin-offs. At least some justice came out of this. Maybe I'm overreacting here, but also maybe not. I'm happy to see the manga was suspended, but I find it insane that the show is still on Crunchyroll. Wait a sec, what is this? The satire? I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Seems like this show should have been suspended along with the manga. The worst part about all of this, somehow he was able to get the sentence suspended for 3 years on social sanctions. So as long as he was on good behavior for 3 years, 0 jail time. So what other shows is he a part of? Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro? Before you ask, yes, it's still on Crunchyroll. So, just to confirm the sources, I looked up the author of Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. The name comes out to be Nanashi, also known as 774. No clue why. They seem to be co-authors. It's somewhat hard to tell when you click the link for Nanashi. You get interesting. Thanks to Google's lovely scroll down feature, also known as the anime spoiler bar, I stumbled across what did Nagatoro's creator do? Previously known as a doujinshi? What the heck is that? Turns out, doujinshi is pretty much an adult erotic manga artist. This gets pretty weird too if you ask me. Listen, you're allowed to be into whatever you want. I don't really care. But when it gets anthropomorphic or teen stuff, you know, I think we can all agree that it's pretty off. Thankfully, it's just Nanashi a part of this and not a registered site. Yes, this is Suzuki's official website. His site is riddled with non-stop suggestive teen content all over. It's been very active all the way back since the case in 2020 and continues to be active now. Honestly, never really skipping a beat, and he somehow retains a massive following. He has 100,000 followers on Twitter and still continues to make manga. This issue spans to some of the largest creators in the industry as well. In the fall of 2017, Nobuhiro Wasuki was arrested on child pornography charges. The police raided his office to find hundreds of DVDs of minors, mainly at the age of 15 or younger. This was right around the time where Rurouni Kenshin's remake was being done. Immediately after the case news, the manga was suspended. As time went by, the case was resolved, and as a judgment, Nobuhiro had to pay $1,500 with 0 jail time. After the case was resolved, Shonen Jump put the manga back into serialization, and the anime reboot continued. I mean, this is just pure insanity to me. Nobuhiro admitted to the guilt. He said, and I quote, "I was interested in a little girl's nudity." I mean, buddy, hundreds of videos is a little bit more than interested. The saddest part to me is a lot of people are trying to defend Nobuhiro as if he shouldn't be faulted, as if his work shouldn't be affected, and that really just doesn't make sense. Just like in anything in the world, it's not separate the art from the artist. You know, if they do something wrong, they're reprimanded in all facets of life, and for better most of the time. It doesn't matter how many years go by, this is something that's so impactful, it can forever affect their mental well-being. That brings us directly to this case. Koichiro Ito. Ito has been part of some of the biggest animes of all time. He was the lead producer on Suzume, Your Name, and Weathering With You. In one of his interviews, he goes as far as to say he was the big reason why they picked the movie title, Your Name. Ito was caught coercing a 15-year-old girl to send him nude selfies all the way back in 2021. Obviously, we have no clue what he's been doing from 2021 to 2024. He sent her $85 in exchange for those photos. Ito has fully admitted to the charges. He said he's had many times where underage girls would send him photos. So much so, he couldn't even recall the girl the police were referring to for this specific investigation. I really wish there was a live recording on this encounter. Did Ito say this in a cocky way, like he knew he was going to get a slap on the wrist like everyone else in the industry? Or did he say it with some actual remorse? This whole video made me really rethink how I look at a lot of anime. It was kind of hard thinking back to a lot of my favorite animes, and I think about all the scenes that maybe I should have questioned, or maybe I should have looked at and said like, oh, this is a little bit different. But what I think shouldn't be overclouded is how many situations I saw where it's separate the work from the artist. That shouldn't be a thing, and I really doubled down on that. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say maybe rethink a lot of the things that you're watching, and the scenes that you find yourself not laughing at that you think are kind of weird, maybe, I don't know, just keep it noted in your brain. We really have to think about putting ourselves in their shoes and realizing how would it feel if you or your kids were behind those cameras, were behind those situations where the police you went to get justice, really nothing ever happened. And that's what I really think about the most after doing this just huge deep dive and finding out a lot of the dark, intricate ways that some of the things in the anime industry do.